Hi, my name is Swindle Shanix, and I use nothing but Corpus weapons. This is going to be a video of me going through each Corpus weapon and just ranking them against each other, because if you haven't noticed, from my aesthetics to my weapon choice to my frame choice, I love the Corpus. I love killing the Corpus. I love being Corpus. I love appreciating the Corpus. I love the Corpus. This is my favorite faction. If I look at my profile real quick and go to my stats, wherever they are, if you can see by what's going on here, I love supporting the Corpus in every way possible. I love the Corpus. I love the Corpus so much. So we're gonna see which weapons are really worth it. So I got a bunch of heavy gunners set up, and we're just gonna go through by category: primary, secondary, melee. I don't have every Corpus weapon that exists technically, like all the Prisma, Vandals, like whatever sub weapon of a weapon there is. I don't have all of them, but I like to think I have generally all the Corpus weapons you could get, I think. I don't know, I cleaned out the energy lab pretty good, so we're just gonna hope for the best. If I missed a Corpus weapon, please yell at me, because I want to own every Corpus weapon there is. So to start this off, we have the Amprex. Now, back in the day, the Amprex used to be a god of a weapon, and to this day, I'm pretty sure the Amprex is still revered as a god of a weapon. Now, generally speaking, I do not change my builds all that much, and generally keep the same build in all situations. I'm very sorry. I know that is a very bad thing, considering a lot of these builds are elemental builds, and as such are corrosive builds, and corrosive is only really good against a Grineer and anything with ferrite armor. But because of just how high the damage is, I generally don't see a reason to change my build, other than if I want to just kill faster and have higher damage numbers. I don't really change my build all that much, because the damage it does already is pretty high. If I'm going to sortie against specific enemies, though, I will change my build. Like if I'm going against level 100 Corpus, I will change my build to something like gas or viral or something, or magnetic. But generally speaking, in normal missions, I don't generally change my build. So let's hop into the stats to see what kind of build I'm rocking. If I remember correctly, I think I just built a general elemental build with the Amprex. I do have an Amprex Riven, but unfortunately it is MR locked at 16, and I am only MR 15. I am working to get the MR 16 so I can actually use half of my Rivens. But generally the Riven that I do own for the Amprex is plus fire rate, plus critical damage, plus status chance, minus damage to Grineer. Negative damage to anything doesn't really matter if you just mod for elemental, so I don't really care about that. Generally speaking, this Riven is not terrible, but I might reroll it. This has been rerolled 5 times already, but I got it like this, so whatever. Now the build I have is Serration split chamber, Stormbringer, Infected Clip, as well as High Voltage and Malignant Force to add status chance, as well as just elemental in general, because the Amprex works off pure electricity, so they amp it up. Because of the Amprex, we got Stormbringer and High Voltage, but to give it that good corrosive, we also got Malignant Force and Infected Clip. I have fast hands for reload speed, because even with fast hands, it's still a 2.0 reload speed. Oh my god. And I also have Combustion Beam, which enemies killed explodes, dealing 400 damage shortly after death. Don't ask me why I have this mod on here, I just do. Because generally speaking, I don't have a lot of mods that... I guess I could put on Hunter Munitions, but I don't really see a point of putting Hunter Munitions on the Amprex. But generally speaking, that's what I'm working with here. So, to give myself an easier time here, I'm actually just going to take off Helios this time around, so he doesn't start staggering my enemies. So we're gonna see how good my Amprex is against these heavy gunners. My Amprex build is by far not an endgame build. This is like an amateur gamer build. if anything. The only time that you're going to be going up against 100 level enemies is during a Kuba Flood, a sortie, maybe a Nightmare mission. I don't know. It's been a very long time since I've done a Nightmare Lure. But generally speaking, this gets the job done, but we're going to see how it fares against level 105 corrupt heavy gunners. Now, if you can notice right off the bat, because of how high my corrosive is, and that corrosive is the only damage being dealt, plus so it's getting procced constantly, I've already overstripped like 2 of these heavy gunners. And even through shooting, I've already overstripped them. Now, even with the fact that corrosive has a negative effect against cloned flesh, it's still killing heavy gunners. Not as efficiently as it would be if they had ferrite armor, but it sure is doing a thing. Even against 105 heavy gunners, the Amprex slaps. But there's also that overstripping problem. Generally speaking, against like level 105 enemies, they will be dead faster than they will be overstripped, so I don't tend to worry about overstripping that much unless I'm bringing the Amprex to a sortie. Then I might replace combustion beam with another elemental or hunting munitions or something like that. Next we got the ARCA Plasma, which is a very good Corpus shotgun. My build here generally is Hell's Chamber, multi-shot, primed charge shell, which is plus 135% electricity, contagious spread, vigilante armaments, blaze, point blank, tactical pump, and hunter munitions, which gives me 3 elemental types, 4K radiation, 9K corrosive, and 2K heat. So since it's another one of those weapons that have only elementals as its damage type, generally speaking, this should be a good weapon. However, it doesn't actually do that much damage, unfortunately. I mean, after a while it starts really going at it with the damage, but it doesn't kill as efficiently as I would want it to. At least against level 105 heavy gunners. Against lower level enemies, this kind of melts through them really quick. But this is generally not as strong of a build as I would like. I still bring this to sorties, since my only other option would bring a Convectress, and I am not bringing a Convectress to a sortie, to a shotgun only sortie. But generally speaking, this build is not as bad as I could have made it. There's probably better ARCA Plasma builds out there, but I like my fuck ton of elementals on this. Now, speaking of the double, we got the Convectress. Now, my Convectress is unformed, since again the Convectress is not that great, so I didn't really do much with it. However, I have Vigilante Armaments, Point Blank, Hell's Chamber, Shotgun Spaz, and an unleveled hunter munitions. I have a fully modded Convectress ribbon, which is plus 88% electricity, plus 100% toxin, and plus damage to corpus, which gives me a raw damage of 200 plus corrosive damage. Now, again, I don't like how the Convectress works, and plus the Convectress isn't that great to begin with. But we're gonna see how this fares against heavy gunners. Not the quickest when it comes to killing, but damn, it sure does. At least it does something against 105 heavy gunners. It's not the fastest killing, but it's not like it's not like one damage, like one little damage per like tick, you know. It's doing its job. It sure is doing its job. I'm not gonna like go through and kill all of them because that would take for fucking ever. Next we have the Dara Vandal. Now I believe I do not have the regular Dara, which I should probably get on that because I don't actually have the XP for a regular Dara, but I have Split Chamber, which is multi-shot, Serration, Infect Eclipse, Storm Rigger, Vigilante Armaments, Malignant Force, High Voltage, and Fast Hands. This is another corrosive build that I have. Now, is this the best for the Dara Vandal? I don't know. Maybe not. I believe I took some Dara build hints from Laser. I'm not quite sure. I might be wrong. I might have to rewatch his Dara Vandal build video later because I'm not sure what the fuck I'm doing. I have formatted this a total of 3 times. I would format it more, but again, I do have a Dara Vandal or Dara Ribbon in general that is MR locked at 16, which is plus magazine capacity, plus damage to corpus, and plus multi-shot. Not the best ribbon. I'll probably re-roll it, but the multi-shot is very nice. This has been given to me a total being re-rolled 5 times. A lot of the ribbons I have are for corpus weapons only, and they've been given to me by very good friends of mine because they don't like these weapons, but I do. So they gave them to me in exchange for other ribbons that I've unveiled over the times. So we're gonna see how the Dara Vandal fares. Now, as an assault rifle with a heavy load of corrosive, it was very good, but it has quite the potential for overstripping. But generally speaking, it doesn't really overstrip that much. Now, generally speaking, I take the Dara with me if I want to change it up a little because my default assault rifle to bring on missions is the Supra Vandal rather than the Dara Vandal. But I do like the Dara quite a bit. It's iconic, if you will. But generally speaking, fuck ton of corrosive, pretty good. Takes out heavy gunners in reasonable time, but also has proneness to armor stripping by accident. Next we have the Ferox, which I definitely stole the build from Laser, which is Split Chamber, Serration, Vigilante Armaments, Point Strike, Hammer Shot, Vital Sense, Speed Trigger, and Hunter Munitions. Hammer Shot is the option mod that I used, I believe, which is more critical damage and more status chance. I just wanted the critical damage. So we're gonna see how the Ferox fares against heavy gunners. Now, if you couldn't see what just happened, the heavy gunner behind me got a slash proc and died before the one in front of me did. Now with Hunter, like that. Now with Hunter Munitions, I procced slash with that crit and boom, fucking dead. We got like 10k slash going on. Like, in a matter of absolute seconds, the Ferox has, like, gone through all of these heavy gunners, and I'm pretty sure that's the fastest I've gotten through them ever with a weapon. The Ferox is very good, but if it weren't for the fact that it's, well, the Ferox, I would use it a lot more. I tend to go for automatic weapons. Now, I've already had 2 videos on the Flux Rifle, but I will go over it again. I recently changed my build between crit slash, viral slash, and Laser's god build. If you want to see these in action, go watch my other 2 videos on the Flux Rifle. For now, I'll just show off my crit slash, which is probably what I'm going to be opting for when it comes to using any of my builds for the Flux Rifle. Now, in a full clip, I could take out a heavy gunner, but if I just go a little over or under halfway, the slash is enough to take out a heavy gunner. We got some 2k, we got 2k slash. Not as good as the 10k we got with Ferox, but It sure is over 1,000, so I'm not complaining, because considering which my original slash build was only dealing at most maybe 500 like slash per tick. But I got multiple slashes going on, 81, 121, 1,200. So it's a bunch of little numbers and some big numbers, but either way, it's good enough for me. Next we have the Galaxian, which is also unformed, because the Galaxian is like the cold version of the Amprex, in my opinion, I guess, kinda, a little. The Galaxian used to be really good back in the day, at least as far as I remember. I actually refused to use the Amprex and the Galaxian for a very long time because I didn't subscribe to the meta. I don't subscribe to the meta, which I have mentioned numerous times in a couple videos. I don't like being a normie, but my love for the Corpus is outweighing my need to feel #hipster, so we just have this now. However, I have not formed the Galaxian because I have not found a reason to use the Galaxian yet, outside of just fucking around. I will get around to forming the Galaxian. I do have a couple formas that I could use to form the Galaxian, but not right now. So generally speaking, we have Serration, Vigilante Armaments, Rhyme Rounds, Hunter Munitions, Split Chamber, and Vital Sense, which is plus critical damage, even though my critical chance is a very low of 8%. I don't actually know why I have Vital Sense on here, but it sure is there. So my guess is just won't do a lot of damage to the heavy gunners, but we're just gonna try anyways. We're just gonna humor it while we still can. Not even halfway dead. We are getting 1k like slashes though, at least. Not even halfway through. I'm not even gonna like humor it by trying to do that. The Galaxian is probably the weakest thing I have in my inventory, in my arsenal, only because I haven't tried and form it at all. Next we have the Lanka, which is my prized possession. It is my Eidolon killer. I have my Woo config, which is my normal fuck everything config, which is Serration, Split Chamber, Lanka Visides. I don't know how to say it. It is the one ribbon I have. Is my first ribbon I've ever unlocked, and it was a Lanka ribbon, and everybody freaked out when I told them that was my first unveiled ribbon. I rerolled it a total of 6 times. It is plus 197.2% damage and plus 118.6% status duration. It's not the best Lanka ribbon I could have got, but I don't want to risk it, so I'm leaving it there until I have like a fuck ton of Kuba to sink into this baby. I have Shred, which is fire rate and punch through, Malignant Force, High Voltage, Stormbringer, and fast, and a 2 for fast hands. What would you call this? A rank 2? Rank 2. A rank 2 fast hands, because that's as much as I can fit on here. And plus, the rank 2 fast hands is used on a number of weapons I have, which have like only like 4 capacity, and I don't want to fuck that up because I only have so many fast hands. Then I also have my Eidolon Lanka build, which is the same thing except I switched out what the fuck did I switched out Malignant Force for Wildfire and Fast Hands. Shred and Fast Hands for Continuous Misery and Speed Trigger. However, generally speaking, this is my fuck everybody build. So we're not even going to like get up close for this. We're just gonna do it from here. It only takes 2 shots to take out level 105 heavy gunners. That is to say if I can actually land my headshots. We're getting like, well, we're getting like 44k like crits with this thing. It's literally a monster. I love his thing so much. The Lanka is my favorite sniper rifle I've ever used. Next we have my lens. Now I love the lens. I normally don't like using bows, but the lens has been really good. Now, the lens, I do have a lens ribbon, but again, locked at MR16 and MR15. It's been rerolled 4 times. This was given to me by a friend who didn't actually want it anymore, which I think is crazy because this build is, or this ribbon is plus 65.4% multi-shot, plus 87.4% critical damage, and plus 64.3% status chance. Now, those aren't the highest numbers in the world, but they make a difference. But since I can't use this right now, I'm just dealing with what I have. I have Vigilante Armament, Vile Acceleration, Serration, Split Chamber, Point Strike, Vital Sense, Hammer Shot, Hunter Munitions. I mostly have these for the good old crit chance and multiplier. I have over 100% crit chance, so fucking yeah yo yee. The Vile Acceleration, I normally don't put Vile Acceleration on like weapons that like are very dependent on damage, and I want as high of a damage as possible with the lens, but the lens also has like the slowest charge rate of literally any weapon I've ever used. So I opted to use it so I can get that 43% charge rate. Now, prefacing this, my lens does jack all against heavy gunners. Or a Grenier in general. As much as I wanted to, it doesn't actually do anything. Now, if you saw it right there, that's a 12 cold red crit. Alright, I take that back. It might do something against these heavy gunners. But nothing spectacular, really. $49 red crit, 2 red crits. What I love about the Simulacrum when it comes to the lens is that it gives the lens like 60 plus 60 like ammo for no reason, when the lens only has a capacity of 6, which I think is very nice. But however, we're going to bring up some Corpus Tech real quick, just to show you how devastating this weapon is against like anything that's not Grenier. Like, watch this. High damage numbers, well over 1,000. Way faster than the heavy gunner, surely. Next we have my pride and joy, my baby, my Opticore. We have Malignant Force, Stormbringer, Vile Acceleration, Vigilante Armament, Speed Trigger, Serration, Heavy Caliber, and Split Chamber. I have two fire rate mods, Speed Trigger and Vile Acceleration, because aside from the lens, as we all know, the charge rate in the Opticore is god awful. So I managed to lower it down to 80%. I used to have 3 fire rate mods on here, but I realized that's kind of overkill. I used to have Shred on here as well, but I realized it's kind of overkill, so I opted to replace it with Vigilante Armaments. Is the Opticore the best thing in my arsenal? No, but I do love using the Opticore a lot. It's a fun weapon. It's a very fun weapon. It used to be the strongest thing in my arsenal until I started getting new weapons, and then I stopped using the Opticore as much. Yeah, that's my Opticore. I sunk a lot of format in this thing. I think I've sunk more format into other weapons than I have the Opticore nowadays, but yeah. Where was that magnetic damage coming from? Oh yeah, I forgot. I have like 15k corrosive on this and 1k impact for whatever reason. I just have high numbers on this. I don't know why. That's not what I wanted. Next we have the Penta, which is, as we all know, a grenade launcher, and grenade launchers aren't that great. So I don't generally have like a good build on his because again, unformed, so not a lot of stuff. But we do have serration, rhyme rounds, 100 munitions, split chamber, tether grenades, and cryo rounds. Tether grenades is a Penta specific mod you get from the index. I just kind of found that I had it when I got the Penta, so I got it. Generally speaking, grenade launchers aren't that strong, at least unformed, so we're not gonna try and do anything here because that would absolutely take forever. But while I'm on the topic of the Penta, we're gonna go with the Secure Penta, which is the first of my double of a weapon, I believe. Now with the Secure Penta, I have split chamber, vigilante armaments, cryo rounds, serration, infected clip, and heavy caliber, which gives me viral damage and on top of blast damage. I don't know what led me to do this combination, but it sure was a thing that I did. I have opted out of the tether grenades in return for more damage. While the damage numbers are nicer, generally speaking, they still won't melt through a heavy gunner. Corpus on the other hand, who buddy isn't nice. Against Corpus, an unformed Penta was a viral build, not as terrible as you would think it would be. Still pretty terrible, but not as terrible. Moving on, we got both Quantas, Quanta and the Quanta Vandal. My regular Quanta, I believe, is unformed. It was only hammer shot, serration, infected clip, heavy caliber, and split chamber, which is generally just, yeah. I don't think it will actually do much, considering that I use my Vandal more often than not, so I never saw the point of forming it. Why do I keep both? Only to say that I do. Only to say that I have both. Now, even with the fact that it's not that strong, after a while the Quanta does rack up in damage. I think that's how all laser weapons work, is that like they slowly rack up in damage the longer you're shooting them. So after a while the regular Quanta does some does damage. It sure does. Now let's go on to the Quanta Vandal. Now the Quanta Vandal I have Sunken 3 format into. It has serration, heavy caliber, split chamber, infected clip, vigilante armaments, malignant force, an unranked fast hands, and a rank 6? Yeah, 6 rivet. Quanta Vexiata, which is plus damage, plus electricity, and negative projectile flight speed, which really only affects the alt fire of the Quanta, but I don't actually use the alt fire all that often unless I'm feeling cheeky in Hydron or something. And just planting a bunch of bombs in front of all the spawn doors just to watch the world burn. So right off the bat, the Quanta Vandal deals damage much faster than the regular Quanta. Already I have gotten through like 3.5 heavy gunners in the span that it would take in the regular Quanta to go through one and maybe half the health of another. I like the Quanta a lot. Nobody seems to like the Quanta that much, but I like it a lot. Next we have the Tron, which is the original Lanka. Now, this one again is unformed because I have a regular Tron, but I believe I have a Tron Vandal, but I believe my Tron Vandal is also unformed because I rather use the Lanka than the Tron, because the recoil and the fire rate leaves a lot to be desired. So generally speaking, I have Serration, Split Chamber, Fast Hands, Speed Trigger, Infected Collective Stormbringer, giving me a good 1k corrosive. This also has like a capacity, like an ammo capacity of fucking 4, which also leaves a lot to be desired. As much as I want to say I like the Tron, I really don't. I will still use it on occasion if I want to switch it up maybe, but generally speaking, I won't see myself using the Tron regularly as opposed to the Lanka. Alternatively, we have the Tron Vandal, in which I have Serration, Split Chamber, Vigilante Armaments, Vital Sense, Point Strike, and Stormbringer, instead raising up that electricity but adding more critical. So let's see what we get here. Off the bat, it actually does a lot more damage than a regular corrosive build or elemental build. I could actually kill something with this. My only problem with the Tron is again, but the recoil and the low accuracy is just two gripes I have with the Tron. Tron Vandal though, very much better than the regular Tron in my opinion. Actually able to kill shit with this thing. Next we have the Supra and the Supra Vandal. Now my Supra is not formatted because I actually waited in anticipation for Baro to bring the Supra Vandal when I got the Supra. He did not unfortunately bring the Supra. He brought like the Gorgon Wraith or some shit like that. Some kind of Wraith weapon, not the Supra Vandal. I was very sad about it. So we have Serration, Malignant Force, Stormbringer, Vigilante Armaments, Split Chamber, and Fast Hands. Generally speaking, you'll see these four mods and then some, or these 4 mods and then some on most of my weapons because I really hate taking time to reload because that just makes me more susceptible to dying. Because if you know anything about Mag, she does not have the highest health or armor, and overshields don't really do anything, but it's the only thing keeping me alive at this point, so I'm trying to make do with what I have. So that gives us a 300, nearly 400 corrosive, which is not the highest thing in the world, but we're gonna see what it do. Even though the fire rate is a tad slow and the damage is not that high, it still racks up quite the kill count. Now we have the Super Vandal, which I realize I have not formatted either, but all my mods seem to fit onto it without forma, so I don't have a reason to format it. Have a high voltage, Malignant Force, Rhyme Rounds to mitigate overstripping, Vigilante Armaments, fully ranked Fast Hands, Speed Trigger, Serration, and Split Chamber. Fast Hands for reload speed, Speed Trigger for fire rate. The firing speed is wonderful because it's just fucking yeets on the enemy, but also I've noticed that with the firing speed and my poor reaction time when it comes to realizing that I've already killed my target and I'm shooting at fucking thin air, I have bad, I have like really bad ammo reservation. The reason why I opted for rhyme rounds rather than like heat, like cold instead of heat, is because with the impact knockback, the cold kind of mitigates that by like slowing down the enemy, so it is not as like terrible. But yeah, my Super Vandal, I love this weapon a lot. Lastly, we have the Tetra, which I have format twice. Why? The Tetra, because I like using the Tetra as a fun little weapon. I was planning to form it again, but things got in the way, as I'm waiting on forming it right now. So right now we have Acceleration, Split Chamber, Speed Trigger, Infected Clip, Vigilante Armaments, High Voltage, and Malignant Force. So generally speaking, this is just corrosive. Were I to form it, I would put on Vigilante Armaments and then call it good. I originally had Kinetic Ricochet on it, but as far as I'm concerned, damage is much more better than a pretty niche mod, even though Kinetic Ricochet is very fun. So this has a smaller magazine than the Supra. This is basically like, I like to think of the Tetra as like a baby Supra, or like what the Tetra, or like basically the Tetra wants to be the Supra is how I view the Tetra. It's still a very fun weapon regardless, but if I'm gonna go for an assault rifle of any kind, I'm gonna opt for the Supra. But the Tetra is very fun. I like using the Tetra.